So resident assistants are in charge of residents that can range easily from 1 resident all the way to 50 residents. And it really just depends on the community and what building you're living in. As a resident assistant, you're there for your residents as a resource. They could come to you for any question that they have. Usually, if we don't know the answer, we're gonna find the answer out and then get back to you. We do a lot of student of concern cases. So if perhaps if a resident's not attending their class regularly and it's a concern to the professor, they usually report it and it comes back to housing, and then it goes through the chain of command and goes straight down to us since we are the closest people to them, and we're told to go check up on them. So we make sure that they're doing well, and so a lot of the time they're either not or they're just like don't want to go to class, but we're in charge of making sure they're okay, that are they adjusting well in classes as well as school, have they made friends. We're kind of the social aspect. We try to make sure they go out to a lot of things. This is their first year in college, so as much involvement as we could get them in is kind of the better, because then they see what their options are. Our school's not super spirited, and it takes a toll on us because we're the ones in charge of kind of like getting them out of like their shell. So it's a lot of work, as well as we deal with a lot of personal cases, a lot of, I would assume not everybody knows this because it would depend if the resident is the one going through it. We don't talk about incidents. We just can't. It's not a thing to do. We can't give out personal information or personal stories unless it's otherwise like moved to our supervisor, not necessarily sharing the story to others. So we do have like Title IX cases. That's our job to deal with. We're also doing rounds. We're making sure our community is safe, making sure there's no people that don't live here coming in and abusing or using our facilities, our spaces, our lounges. It's kind of our job to either basically keep the building safe, keep it running, write as little IRs as possible, making sure our residents are comfortable. As an ARD, you basically do the same thing as an RA, but you just do a little bit more. So I'd say you are kind of like the bigger sister or bigger brother of the rest of the RAs. They could come to you if they feel uncomfortable about a situation and try to talk it out through you, because our supervisor is usually busy and he has to manage the entire building, the entire community. So I'm like the closest line that they could come to talk about something, as well as I participate in RA Council and I have to be a part of 2 other committees to make sure that our residential life and housing staff is following all our procedures and making sure that we're able to hire new people, our training, everything is involved with that. But it's more administrative work, so anything my supervisor would like me to do regarding administrative stuff, I handle that. So a lot of our scheduling, I schedule our resident assistants when they're supposed to be working, and I deal with any changes to schedules. I deal with accepting program proposals, their bulletin boards, any programming that they need. They usually go to me first. So, yeah.
We have our first year residential experience, we have our second year residential experience, and then our upper division communities, and then our graduate and professional students communities. So we have these different cohorts because each of the cohorts has different needs. First year students, they can have a lot of challenges transitioning to independence for the first time, living on their own for the first time, managing their own money, washing their own clothes, like cooking for themselves for the first time. So there are just a lot of different things that first year students, well, not first year, but all college students kind of experience for the first time. But it's our job to kind of create that experience for first year students to help them through this transition.
I decided to apply to be assistant residence director because I'm a business major and I felt like I didn't have enough experience in like administration, and this job not only are you doing a resident assistant's job, but you're also kind of managing a staff. In Southwest, we have a staff of 8, so I'm in a way in charge of them too. I do a lot of administrative work alongside my supervisor, so I feel like everything that I'm doing helps me gain experience to become a leader, and it's nice to put on my resume. I also really enjoy working with the residents. They are really pleasant to work with because you're guiding them through their college experience. The level of assistantship that's needed for Southwest Hall is a lot because we're a first-year community. So most likely most people that live in first-year communities are coming straight out of high school. They are coming from all different places and they need guidance regardless if their parents have gone to college or not. They need more assistantship because they feel as soon as they come to college, they're allowed to do whatever they want. And although they kind of are free to do what they please, there's still rules and there's still procedures that they need to follow. We help with guidance when it comes to figuring out where their classes are, where their resources are. If they're struggling from homesickness, we're the ones that guide them to a different resource or direct them to the correct resource. Being in a first-year community, the assistantship is really high. You put in a lot of work for them because they're also not as comfortable as opening up. They're in a completely new setting, so it's difficult. Yes.
So the purpose of a RA is definitely to build that community and help them with that transition. And they have programs and different things that we require them to do to help build those one-on-one connections. There's also an administrative piece because part of that student care piece that I was speaking of earlier, when a report comes in about a student who may be having academic difficulties, social difficulties, emotional difficulties, that report will come to me, and then I'll depend on my student staff members to go and check up on that student and get a little information so we can create a full picture about what's going on with this student. So the administrative portion is also pretty important. They also have responsibilities for duty to make sure that the policies of the university and residential life and housing are being followed to create a good community here, to make sure that people can come home to a peaceful environment here at Southwest, or wherever they live on campus. And also to fulfill our residential curriculum. I kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier about the different cohorts that we have. So part of our curriculum and supporting these cohorts are to have different learning outcomes, different goals, different strategies to help support these students achieve the learning goals that we have for our curriculum.
A lot of residents believe that all we do, whether it's being an RA or an ARD, is that we just get free meal plan and free housing, which is kind of frustrating because we put in a lot of work into our job. It takes a toll heavenly, and it really feels like a 24/7 job. So everybody else just kind of thinks that we're there and we're just babysitting, just making sure no one gets hurt, I guess. This job is not what people think it is, and I can't stress enough that even if you ask an RA what they do, let me tell you, they do way more than what they're saying that they do, because it is a job that takes over everything. It takes over your entire life. The way you talk, the way you hold yourself up, the way you look, the way you act, the way you go out, how you enjoy your time. It affects every aspect of your life. And sometimes you can't take it. You feel super overwhelmed. Coming to this job, you don't realize it until you're in it. Nobody knows what an RA goes through, what a GCA goes through, what an ARD goes through until you're in that position.